Hey, I'm Ben Silverio.
I'm Don Shanahan.
And I'm Ansel Burch.
And it's
Time to party.
We are not doctors. We don't give medical advice. Please drink responsibly. Today's episode was recorded on July 18th, 2024.
Party people in the house, let's go.
Yes. There it is.
We are back again with another episode of Time to Party. And joining us this month, if you haven't been paying attention, is the phenomenal.
Oh boy, AJ Styles. No, well,
Oh, you got me before I could do more.
You get the gloves up, no? Yeah.
Yeeting his way to the microphone. Yeah. This is Don Shanahan.
Oh, Ben, thank you for having me. Good to see you again. Ansel, good to meet you through these shows that we've been recording and doing, and I'm having a great time. Thanks for having me.
This has been an incredible month talking about Somewhere in Time, the 1980s movie starring Christopher Reeve and Jane Seymour. If you don't know what we're talking about, where were you for the last couple weeks? But our friends at IMDb have you covered. A Chicago playwright uses self-hypnosis to travel back in time and meet the actress whose vintage portrait hangs in a grand hotel. Yeah, that happens.
I like that it just says a Grand Hotel.
Yeah, it's
The
like Ohio State
Grand
University.
Hotel.
It's the Grand Hotel. Yeah.
Yes, we had an excellent discussion last week reviewing the movie. You need to go back and listen to it because it was a great time. We cover a lot of stuff, but it's awesome. You know, what I like about it is that we may have had differing opinions on it.
Oh yeah.
But I feel like we still had a very fruitful discussion.
Oh, totally. Like, because we were able to put that lens on and go, Ben, you're right. This on its face is creepy. Completely creepy in 2 days.
Oh yeah.
Completely.
Yes.
It's a seminal film, and you know that means that sometimes you have to like give a little bit of space for
product of its era. Yeah.
You know, this is important, even if it's, you know, dated, and maybe because it's dated.
It may be filled with red flags, but you could see the path through the red flags.
That's because it's got horse carriages on it and it's lined in gravel. That's why.
There it is.
It's right there. Don't walk on the grass.
And if you are a longtime fan of this podcast, hell, if you just perused the podcatcher of your choice and saw that, hey, they do a couple episodes on each of these movies, then you'll know that our third episode is our edutainment episode. And as I say the word edutainment, you can see the hand motion.
Is that where I hit
that comes along with it?
Does it need a bell? No. Okay, just checking. Wrong podcast.
I love it.
No, that was good.
We're gonna add a new thing each time. This time it's a bell. Maybe next time it's fireworks. But because it is September, and because all the good little kiddies are going back to school,
oh boy,
we have brought in a professional educator.
I do got the masters
to edutain you.
Oh boy,
for this movie that he holds so dear.
I do. Oh boy. All right, I gotta open this segment here. Okay.
Well,
yeah,
I would say that you should go first, but both of you are far more learned than I am.
Oh boy.
Which is why I'm enlisting both of your help with my edutainment. Because so while I was watching this movie, it was kind of hard to pick a topic for edutainment because I was too busy picking out all the little red flags.
You sure were. Yeah.
But also I didn't want to do pocket watches. I didn't want to do hats, you know. But throwing this back to episode 1, I provided a shot rule. If you'll recall, I wanted you to take a shot for a certain road in Chicago, Illinois.
There you go.
Lake Shore Drive. I no longer live in Chicago. I am now based in lovely Los Angeles, California, where I can drive down Pacific Coast Highway and see the ocean from Malibu to Santa Monica
How's the traffic on that road there, Ben?
You know, when I'm driving
You
down
really
it,
get to see the
Yeah,
scenery.
it's not that bad.
Okay.
Because I avoid rush
Oh,
hour.
okay.
Nice.
So I can actually go at a speed close to the speed limit. But it's gorgeous even if you're sitting in traffic
Yeah, it sure is.
because the ocean is right there. But when I was living in Chicago, the closest thing that I had to that was Lakeshore Drive. And because, well, you know, I'm not gonna get on my my aluminum foil hat and be like, oh, maybe Don picked this to entice me to come back to Chicago or something.
Oh no. I just need. I went for the weepy time travel movie. We're like, I bet they'll never cover this one, and I was right. You guys have never
And
seen
you
it.
were
So,
right.
yeah, check.
We hadn't. Yeah.
But you know, I do have some very fond memories of Lakeshore Drive, just driving down towards the city to see movies at the River East, many of which Don was at as well. Driving uptown, you know, to visit our friends and things like that, and you know, going to the beaches along the way. It's during that little 2-3 week period when it's really nice in Chicago,
You're
like
right.
Lakeshore Drive is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's getting flooded or rained on
Yeah.
or
frozen.
or frozen
Yeah.
or
Oof.
there's road work.
Although it is pretty frozen. Like when that lake's got iced over it, actually
It's
looks pretty
so
good.
yeah.
So what I did was, as we do in our edutainment section, I took a very, 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 very shallow dive. So shallow, in fact, that I would like to hear some fun facts from our resident tour guide, Ansel,
Oh, I can go
who
with this
has a
too
rich
here.
history with the city of Chicago.
I can play at this level too.
Okay. Well, do you want to tell us what you learned about Lakeshore Drive first, and then I can fill
This'll
in
take 3
fun
seconds,
facts afterward if you
So
like.
first, the fact that it is now no longer just known as Lakeshore Drive. The complete name officially is the Jean-Baptiste Point du Sablé Lakeshore Drive. I could have looked up
Just renamed within the last 2 years.
I could have looked up why it's named that, who it's named after, and all that stuff. But hey, guess what I didn't do? But
left it to us.
He's a cool guy. He's a cool guy.
Yes,
Yeah.
100%.
So the quiz question is, who's Jean Baptiste du Sable, right?
Point du
I can't
Sable.
say it.
Yeah.
I mean,
Of
I know
course,
who he is,
which
but
is why I was going to ask you
Well,
after
no teacher.
Ansel's fun facts. But
Go
what
for
I
it.
found was the origins of Lakeshore Drive, dating
there
back
we go.
to Potter Palmer, who managed to talk his way into letting the city build a street adjacent to his lakefront property to enhance its value. God, billionaires never
'Cause
stop.
that's how
That's
it's
the Chicago
done.
way. Yeah, that's the Chicago way. That's
Rich people have
That holds true.
always found a way to get their way.
True.
Oh man.
And Chicago loves it.
Yeah.
We just eat
Oh,
that
yeah.
shit up.
That shit up.
We do. Yeah.
I mean,
yeah. Billionaires give us. Cool
I mean, the
things,
Bear,
please. Yeah.
you know, taking a small rundown sandwich shop and turn it into high-end culinary institutions. That's
Oh, yeah.
exactly what you want, right?
I mean,
I
look
just
at
think the
Field
Wiener
Museum.
Circle should have a Michelin star by now, of all places.
Yes. Well, originally, Lakeshore Drive was not meant for drives at all, really, because it was really meant for leisurely strolls or carriages. But obviously, when the automobile became a thing, it kind of switched things up. And I'm sure that Mr. Palmer really loved all those engines driving in front of his house after that. So you can suck it, Potter Palmer.
Right. Potter Palmer.
The other thing that I associated with Lakeshore Drive is the song.
Sure.
Written by Skip Haynes of the Chicago-based rock group Aliota Haynes Jeremiah. Did I murder their names? Probably.
Maybe.
But, you know, that song is very famous. A lot of people know that song. Just slipping on by LSD. Yeah.
Got that honky piano
Yes.
going there.
Mhm.
Wonderful song, made not famous, but like I'm sure a number of people will recognize it from the Guardians of the Galaxy soundtrack.
That's right.
But that's not the only song that was written about Lakeshore Drive.
Oh, do tell.
Styx mentions it in their song Borrowed Time, as well as Back to Chicago, obviously.
Okay.
Kanye West mentions it in Drive Slow and Grammy Family. And then Fall Out Boy mentions it in Lake Effect Kid, which I love that song. I like Fall Out Boy. So Lakeshore Drive has had a number of uses, has had a number of homages, but I look upon it favorably as it is one of my favorite spots in Chicago. Even though it was always filled with traffic, but but Ansel, what's a fun fact that you know about Lakeshore Drive?
So one of my favorite things about Lakeshore Drive is that it has had several names over the years. It was actually Leif Erikson Drive for a long time.
Wow.
Before it was before it was named Lakeshore Drive in the 40s, right before just post-war.
We call that gentrification.
Get
out of here, you Scandinavian legends.
Man, we did love them for a long time there.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing I was going to come back to, and I'm glad you mentioned it, is the Palmers, the sort of legacy of those sort of rich, unnecessary jerks who made our city what it is today. The Palmers, after Potter Palmer died, is when his wife took over their fortune. And in a lot of ways, she was just as influential in creating the city that we know today as all of the guys from the Columbian Exposition we talk about so often. Her work with women's groups around the Columbian Exposition also gave us a lot of parkland. It gave us a lot of infrastructural elements that otherwise would not have been funded by the city. And so, like, Bertha Palmer is, I mean, as much as Potter Palmer gave us Lakeshore Drive by being a dick about where his house is, Bertha Palmer is like legit one of the legends of this city that not enough people know about. And the fact that it's tied to the house that she inherited after her husband's death, along with like $8 million or something, which, in then money was enough to do some serious like city affecting choices. I think the other thing that I was going to talk about, because you asked about like my history as a tour guide, and it's my tour guide career, if you call it that, was primarily focused on the Museum of Science and Industry. And the Museum of Science and Industry, being on 57th Street, is where Lakeshore Drive terminates.
That's right.
So Lakeshore Drive stops being Lakeshore Drive and just becomes Expressway at 57th Street. Yeah. And so we're at the furthest south point of that of the road, and that part of the road is also where famously the museum was able to shut down Lakeshore Drive for a weekend to get the U505 out of the lake and up onto the lawn of the museum. So they like sailed that whole boat all the way down through the St. Lawrence Seaway and into the Chicago the beaches. They beached it up on the side and put it up on some pylons for a while, and then they closed down Lakeshore Drive and dragged it slowly across, and then it sat on the lawn for 50 years or something like that.
I was just there looking at that beautiful U-boat this past weekend.
Oh,
Beautiful,
really? Oh, man. I gave tours on that boat. I served on that boat for 5 years.
Well, son of a gun.
It's my submarine
longer
career.
than the men in the 40s did.
Yeah, much longer than those guys. Yeah.
Yeah.
Much to their thrill, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Nobody wanted to be in there.
Mm-mm.
But yeah, so I really, having worked that close to Lakeshore Drive, the thing that I think is important to understand about the impact that Lakeshore Drive has on Chicago is that, yes, it is this this symbol of Chicago's north-south transit. It's a symbol of the history of the city in a lot of ways. You know, the transition that you make from 57th Street up to Sheridan is huge. That's so much of the city is represented in the length of Lakeshore Drive. It's also become a line of demarcation. You know, everything from Lakeshore Drive to the lake is public land, and has been ever since the Columbian Exposition. Yeah. It's with the exception of that one tower that was allowed to be built on the other side. All of that is public space, and it really is amazing that we as a city set that aside and have kept it. You know, there was a brief period where we had a big, you know, sort of inflection point as a city recently where, you know, were we going to allow the Lucas Museum to be on the other side of Lakeshore Drive? Which granted is an academic question because like they were going to put it next to Soldier Field. And I don't feel like that's terrible, a huge move to be like, oh, I don't know, can we put another giant building next to that giant building and the two other giant buildings that are next to it? I feel like we would have been fine.
Yeah, but no kidding. Yeah, because McCormick, like that would have been 3 in a row with Lucas, McCormick, Soldier Field, Field Museum, like from 31st Street to Columbus or to Roosevelt. You had a mess.
Yeah, it would have been a lot.
Big things they either wanted to put there. Oh yeah.
Oh my God, I can't even imagine. Oh, and it's about to get worse. I don't know if you've heard, Ben, but they're making it worse.
Well, they want to. If they want to move Soldier Field to where the 31st Street lot is now,
that's
right?
insane.
On the other side of McCormick, and then there goes all the parking for Soldier because Grant Park Garage is too far away.
Because the original Soldier Field is a historic landmark. That's why they put the fucking spaceship on the top of it.
Oh,
they can't change the body of it, so they're gonna build another one right next to it.
Can't touch it, or can't all the way touch it. Yeah.
Insane. That's insanity.
It's a World War I memorial.
This is how they're keeping the Bears from moving out into the burbs.
Jeez.
Let's see if that turns out too, because you know, sharing money with the city versus getting every dollar they want at their own facility in Arlington Heights would do the job. I think Arlington Heights is going to win. I'm going to date my bad vote in this podcast in September here, but who knows?
The Bears.
I mean, if I owned the Bears, I'd make that call.
I'd go to Arlington Heights. Keep every dollar you get because
absolutely.
You have your own space. You're not sharing with the city. High school teams aren't fucking up your field, putting soccer on it. Like it's
everybody's gonna have a better time.
Yeah. It'll have parking.
Yeah, it'll have parking. Yeah. You won't have to share the parking with the McCormick Center and the field. And
I see the appeal though, like to want it there because like that's a gorgeous lakefront downtown vista view of the city when the blimp is over that field and they show it on national television. Like it looks great. It will not look that good in Arlington Heights, but you'll have your space. It'll be a gorgeous domed stadium. You can put concerts in Final Four and WrestleMania in. So
it'll look like all the other major stadiums. You know, in a sea of parking with a Ed DeBevick's at one end.
All this.
They should really move the Chicago Red Stars to the current, soon to be old Soldier Field because they deserve it.
Something.
The Red Stars are a very good team. And I had a lot of fun watching them down at SeatGeek Stadium.
I will also throw out that we have a team in Chicago called the Chicago Dogs.
Yeah, I go to them. Semi-pro baseball. Family friendly.
Out by which is just too good a name. Like, I'm sorry, we need to do something.
They lean into the hot dog thing too. They go there.
Now, Don, you were going to share something about the namesake of Lakeshore Drive currently.
Oh yes.
Well, DuSable was the original. Who's credited as the first European settler of the city who established whatever colony / community would eventually be taken over by the military and become Fort Dearborn, and then become a city, and then get burned down in the 1860s and come back as the metropolis that it is today. But yeah, that's DuSable. My where I get my history from, if that is being a school teacher, and then I had my little mini career as a tour guide too. For a couple of summers, I was a hireable docent on those dinner cruises off of Navy Pier, where I had to talk a lot about a little bit of Lakeshore Drive, a little bit of architecture in the buildings, a lot about the lake, a lot about Navy Pier. So I got those silly little history cards in my back pocket of where that goes to. My Lakeshore Drive fun fact would be that I enjoy is and I remember because it's changed in my lifetime, but it showed up in a movie in a fun way where like that doesn't happen anymore. It used to go between the Field Museum and the Shed Aquarium, and then they moved it. Oh no, yeah, they when they kind of kept it public land and they rerouted it, you if you wanted to walk between the Field Museum and the Shed Aquarium, you used to have to take a tunnel under Lakeshore Drive to get from one museum to the other. Now it's all open, where they moved Lakeshore Drive west of the Soldier Field, of Soldier Field and the Field Museum, where it tucks in and then kind of circles back, before Roosevelt and gets back, back on before the fountain and all that. But like Lakeshore Drive used to go between, closer to the lake,
like
where it was more
S-curve through there.
It S-curves now to get around the museum campus, to keep the museum campus together. Because when they rejiggered that, they wanted the field, the shed, and the Adler to be walkable as a park/museum space and not be disrupted by traffic, automobile traffic. So Lakeshore Drive used to go, like I said, between the Field Museum and Shed Aquarium, where you used to have to take a tunnel underneath. You couldn't just freely walk. That shows up in a silly ass movie in the 90s, The Relic, with Tom Sizemore, the creature feature at the Field Museum. When they're escaping at the end of the movie, they like get out of the museum and get away from the monster. They're leading them through the tunnel to get to the Shed Aquarium, and like the crane, the helicopter shot at the end of the movie is like all the police cars like on Lakeshore Drive between the Field Museum and the Shed Aquarium, where the survivors are on the spotlight of the helicopter at the shed, and the museum still has its torn up, stuff to the other side. But like, yeah, it was you just have to cross the street. I'm glad they kind of reclaimed that, to S-curve the road a little inward, where you lose some scenicness that getting around the football stadium and the museum, but like bringing all that back into public land. And like you said, is a nice touch, and it's been great since. And they've obviously, Ansel will tell you, they've redone the bike trails that go through there and the walking paths that go through there. It's gorgeous now. Like that used to be a really nasty, like just narrow little sidewalk level path, but now it's wide, where you have runners and bikers and skaters and scooters, where it's just full comfort now in terms of space, and enough people take advantage of it where it really is quite pretty. And I think being able to experience that as in the exercise kind of way, just adds to that just perfect vista of the city, where you can be running in the morning or taking a bike ride, and there's this gorgeous metropolitan city to your left or your right, and it's just untouched and no traffic bothering you. It's really quite pretty.
Yes.
And especially down in that area, there's a bunch of little hidden gems too.
At this point now, yeah,
because the museums have loved to, well, I mean, we needed a place to put our henge, so there's like a little henge off on one side of the Adler, and there's a statue of a fisherman over next to the shed, and
a saran wrapped Christopher Columbus that we don't talk about or touch anymore, and it's all still there. Yeah, it's a mess.
Is that where that is?
It's at the Columbus and Roosevelt ish.
Oh, okay.
But where Lakeshore would curve back around, so it's all wrapped up in trash bags. It looks, we know it's there, but they're
See, I apologize for turning my edutainment this month into a group project, but seeing as how
clearly we enjoyed it.
Yeah, seeing as how knowledgeable both of you are on this topic, I thought it would be fun to bring you in on it.
I think the other thing about Lakeshore Drive is I don't know of many other cities that can do that. Like New York doesn't have a drive right against its coast on the East River, the Hudson, or around Queens or Long Island. Like that's true. Cleveland doesn't have that against the Great Lakes. Milwaukee doesn't have that. Like their roads are backed up into the city. Like to set that land aside to say, hey, we're going to put one really gorgeous fucking road here, and then public land the rest of it, like, which would be prime lakefront real estate. Like there's still plenty of gorgeous real estate there. It's the Gold Coast, it's Hyde Park, it's Oakland, it's like there's great neighborhoods there. And but but none of them have like pull a boat up to the beach and park and walk into your house in Chicago. You know, like it's the fact that we've set all that aside for park, and not just the museum campus, but Maggie Daley and Grant Park. You go up to Lincoln Park, and the you know, the between the zoo and the Becky Nordebart, and like we've set aside that much green space, despite the obvious, you know, rich temptations of land development. Is huge. I mean, we've made a modern Roadhouse movie over it, so good job.
Don, you know what city
Yeah.
was planned with a gorgeous road that runs next to the city and is Riverside?
Los Angeles. Yeah, that's the one.
Philadelphia.
You guys did it, and you got a good lakefront road in Philadelphia, or river
along the Schuylkill River.
passing?
You you have, I mean, yeah, it's a highway, but like Boathouse Row is right there too. Wow. You know, Fairmount Drive, which goes behind the museum and like into Fairmount Park, and you know, because they planned the city around the Fairmount Park area. Yeah.
And was that does that go back to the foundations? Is that like a 1700s?
I want to say
design, or?
It was part of the design when they were planning it out, but you know, it's been a while since I've brushed up on my
that Ben Franklin fella. He's knows what's up.
He was thinking urban planner. Right? Add that to the resume.
Yeah. All right, Ansel, hot tag.
Yes. Okay. So I wanted to talk very briefly about pennies.
Pennies.
I wanted to talk about pennies.
We share our edutainment topic.
No way.
Okay, well then
we do. I was going to go pennies too. You go first. I'll tag in. We'll go back and forth.
Well,
that's so funny.
Okay. So now the question is:
your show. Go first. I'll tag in. I'll hop in.
Okay. I don't have a whole lot that I want to talk about with pennies.
I don't either.
Because good. Okay. The thing that I thought was really interesting about pennies, aside from the fact that they are completely worthless currency that we should get rid of,
correct.
What a freaking nightmare!
I crush more of them than I use.
Yeah,
I don't with my children.
I can't think of the last time I spent a penny, but I absolutely have crushed some.
Remember when people would give them out at Halloween?
Oh yeah,
pennies.
Yeah,
pennies. I have a grandmother who did that religiously. Oh. Here's a penny.
No, I don't remember that.
And a Reese's peanut butter cup, but yeah.
I grew up in the country. We
kept all your money.
Money stayed in the house. Yeah.
You gave away from the fresh eggs that were laid that morning.
Oh.
So pennies are copper, right? We all learned that pennies are copper. Pennies are not copper. Most of the penny is not copper. And so the penny has to first be minted, and it's minted by dyeing. So they're going to take the zinc alloy that is the center, like the core, the nougat of the penny, and they run that through a press. And the press is what gives it that look of the Lincoln's face and the memorial in the back and the whole thing. So they kind of roll through this pressing machine, and then they are electroplated, which is the thing that I really wanted. The thing that I got really interested in my shallow dive here is the science of electroplating. Because there's this zinc alloy, which is the nougaty center, and there is 20 microns worth of copper electroplated onto the outside of this penny, which is not a whole lot.
No.
So in order to electroplate, it involves putting the pennies into a bath of copper sulfate and then running a current through the copper sulfate such that it sticks to the zinc and creates that outer shell, that candy coating of copper that is on the outside of the penny. So when we see that penny in Christopher Reeve's hand in the moment before he is thrown back to the present, because he is reminded that he's from the future, what you're seeing there is the tarnished face of 20 microns of electroplated copper on the outside of this beautiful zinc nougat center. So the interesting thing about this is that, like, okay, so we know that that pennies cost more to make than they are worth. We know that pennies are just a bane to all existence's problem currency. They're causing more problems for banking and the mint and distribution than anybody could possibly overcome without just getting rid of them. But all that aside, the other thing is that they wear down faster than the other coins. So on the edges of your penny, because it's only 20 microns of copper, any of the sharp edges where you start to see that extra like blackening effect that pennies get around their edges, that's actually the zinc poking through the copper. So yeah, that just a very shallow dive into the composition of pennies, and especially old pennies will have more copper than the newer pennies, which does not make them appreciably worth more.
No.
So don't get too excited.
Now, Ansel,
I can, go ahead,
you say
Ben.
copper. Hardly know her.
Oh, well, you know.
So sorry.
I walked into an inside joke.
I don't know why I'm like this.
Okay.
I have a good guess.
I mean,
you're single.
Yeah, that's why I'm the single one.
We've all been domesticated. You can't talk to everybody no more, Ansel. Like, Don, insensitive, stop. Like, yeah.
It's okay. I play a character sometimes.
Right, me too. It's called Mr. Shanahan, the teacher.
Well, now that I have gone, and now that Ansel has gone, we have the main event, the
inimitable
Penny's
Don
Part 2.
Shanahan.
Right, the American nightmare, so to speak, of this little endeavor, the Cody Rhodes of our podcast this evening, the time to party world heavyweight champion, undisputed, if you will.
Oh man, I'm Adam Pearce trying to GM my way out
just because
of this.
he's another bald guy.
I know, right? That's where.
But really, the professional teacher is clocking in right now.
Well, I was going to go to pennies as well, because it is I know there's not like a machine or a mechanism in somewhere in time, but it feels like the thing that like just triggers the rest of it, which is kind of fun. And like I said in our review episode, it was my waterfall drinking rule was like when he sees the penny and the music hits and you see the pullback, like chug your beer and finish the movie where you can. Right there is the waterfall spot. But no, with pennies, playing the school teacher, I actually. I do that whole copper versus zinc thing in a lesson where it comes at school where the current pennies now that are like that Ansel described are just that thinly coated. Like it doesn't take much of a scissors or a knife to kind of scrape any of that copper off and see the silvery zinc underneath. And I demonstrate that to the kids, like because they all assume that just I don't want to say it's a wives' tale, but just that they're copper. But they stopped being like 95% copper at about 1982. Was the date I had in terms of when it switched from being kind of copper to this more, micro. You gave the fancy term. What was it called, Ansel?
The which one?
What was the electroplated?
Excuse me. The electroplating. Yes.
Yeah, but so in my classroom, I actually keep around a couple of like pre-zinced pennies where I keep a few 95% copper pennies around. And I have a demonstration lesson in my class on a couple of things. One, metal composition, because I can kind of do that a little bit, where I'll show them how you can damn near cut a penny in half with your scissors because zinc is nothing to it. And you can't do that with a 95% copper quarter or a penny, old school penny. So I have like some cool metal scissors that I can kind of like partially cut a penny, and it looks tough that I cut a penny. Like, Mr. Shanahan, you're so strong. But then we'll scrape off and show them how thin the whole copper part is. We'll do some cutting that says how soft zinc is versus how hard copper is. And then there's a sound. When you drop, and you can pick any surface, a cup, a table, whatever, but normally just a good old-fashioned wood school desk does the trick. Where when you drop a penny of today that's extremely light, and zinc plated, it makes a completely different tinkle and tone sound than an old school 95% copper penny does. And I baffle the kids, and I'll ask them a pure hypothesis teachable moment where I don't even before I even introduce them, like I'll drop one penny, the new one, I'll drop the old one, and it makes a completely different sound. I'm like, and I'll play that teacher card of like, why do you think why do you think that is? These are two pennies. They look the same.
And that's your like start to the lesson.
Yeah. They both got Lincoln on the front. They got the memorial on the back. One might be a little older, but what's going on here? Like, what's going on? Like, and they'll start looking really close, and like, sure enough, like, they can see that those old school copper pennies can rust and get more greener. Like the pennies now barely get green if they rust. They'll start to almost like if they are duller, they're a little more of a caramel dull than the the more copper reddish, or they're going to flat out turn it into the zinc and the blackening that Ansel brought up. So like it's kind of fun to play metal composition, play sound composition with my fifth graders and blow their minds. Like now they're like, where'd you get that penny? Like it's some kind of special penny. And just for fun, I do have, and when I found my birth year is 1979, and that's the year of the penny that pulls Richard back in the movie.
That's right.
I keep a 1979 penny just for that, and I tell myself this is my Richard Collier penny. So like that's one of them I like keep around. It's like, and it's not worth anything but a penny. But for me, I'm like, I got me a Richard Collier 1979 penny right here. I tell myself that. So as I play the science experiment stuff, but the fun part is like if you can go older, like if you can find pre-Lincoln pennies from before 1959, like if you can go a little more pure copper than even the stuff from between 59 and 82, like it just again looks different, sounds different, moves different, weighs different. It's amazing. Like, and same thing, we'll put them both on a little scale and it'll be like, whoa, the 2013 penny is so much lighter. And yeah, just it's just kind of fun to do that. And then we'll get the microscope out and you can see Lincoln sitting in the Lincoln Memorial if you look close enough. And you're like, and nowadays we got that Union badge on the back, so they took away the memorial, which sucks. But yeah, pennies, Ansel's right. Pennies are worthless. We don't need to do this stuff anymore. Round to the nickel, please. He's right. They cost more to make than they are to be. But I have found use of them as a teacher with science. So we have a little fun with that.
Just to throw in one more wrestling reference, that Party People has been a teachable moment. Chase you. Yeah. Okay. I'm sorry, Ansel, that all the wrestling references are just flying by.
It's okay. I caught a couple of them this time. I'm really proud of myself.
He knows what a heel turn is.
That's true. He does. I know he does.
I know what a heel turn is. Yeah.
Yes.
I knew about the one wrestler who does the black and white gimmick.
The black and white. Oh, that's right. You did know about Tony Storm. Correct.
Timeless Tony.
Okay. Yeah. What's the Turner Classic Movies guy's name? Oh God.
The guy Robert
Osborne? The one with the glasses and the brown hair. Mankiewicz. Yeah.
Mankiewicz? Yeah.
Timeless Tony Storm is Ben Mankiewicz's favorite wrestler.
No wonder.
But he's done a few vignettes with her and they've been hilarious.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
But yes, that has been our edutainment for this month for the movie Somewhere in Time. Hopefully you have been listening to all our episodes about this movie. If it's your first time watching it, maybe check out those drinking and smoking rules that we provided in episode 1. Then afterwards, check out episode 2. And now, look at all these fun facts you know about things. Is this the first time that 2 people on this podcast covered the same edutainment?
I wonder.
I think it's the first time we've let it go. I think usually one of us will give right of way to the other. So it was cool to get. And I like that we both had a metallurgy angle to it as well.
Oh, sure. Had I gone first, where would you have pivoted? Would you have stuck to the penny stuff?
Oh, I did have another one. And
what was Plan B?
What was Plan B?
I did not have a Plan B. I probably would have talked about the Grand Hotel.
Mackinac Island. I was going to talk about Mackinac Island.
Yeah, because I wanted to put that in the review episode, and then you said wait.
Right. Okay. So super quick
bonus
Mackinac
edutainment
Island fact. Yeah. So it is spelled Mackinac, and for a long time it was Mackinac, and Mackinac is a bastardization of the original Native American name of that whole area, but specifically the island. It refers to the island being a great turtle in this in the lake, and so the Native American name for it, which I will not attempt to say because I didn't learn how to properly say it ahead of time, and I don't want to butcher it. So there you go. I hope that counts as respect. But yeah, so the French, when they originally settled that area, they called it Mackinac. And as is a fine English tradition, when the English came in and took over the area, not only could they not resist the temptation to mispronounce the native language, they also cannot waste an opportunity to mispronounce a French word. And so Mackinac became Mackinac because the British settlement in that area on the lakeside is Mackinac City. And so even though the spelling Mackinac remains for the island itself and the surround, it is pronounced Mackinac after the town, after Mackinac City. So
the British.
That is why it is confusing and dumb.
Dumb. For
Yep.
The British. The British.
Yay,
those
white
OG
Good job,
petty
guys.
bitches.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, it's the same reason that we have lieutenant and marquis. The British would say marquess, because damn if we're going to say a French word properly. No. The first time I visited the Marquess of Anglesea's column, it was maybe the most British thing I did for that whole week, which is saying something.
Oh my god, I love that. That's so good. Well, all right. Party people, thank you for joining us as we've discussed Somewhere in Time. I hope you're enjoying your back to school activities, future Don.
I'm not. I'm going to tell you right now, the July 18th Don recording this is not enjoying the September Don. He's going to do his best, but nope.
So there's no way
September Don's not doing so good right now.
There's no way that you're going to lay down in bed after this and imagine that you're
Oh no! When I get to listen to this in September, I will go back fondly for a hint and a whiff of July.
Imagine you're in July again.
Oh yeah. Put the Crocs back on. Get a pair of shorts back on. Pretend it's summer again, please. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because right now, no, I'm not doing good right now.
You're 2 weeks in.
Tired.
They're probably absolutely feral.
Yeah.
Oh man. Well. While future us are looking back fondly on this time we spent with friends, I will admit I do miss Chicago a little bit, just a little bit. I don't know if I'm going to come back in September to February ever again, but who knows? You never know where I'm going to pop up.
I think Chicago does autumn especially well.
I agree. I think it's worth the trip in September and October. It's our best weather. It's not Hell's Armpit. We're in a good spot.
Yeah, it's not too fucking hot, and nope. We're not. Lakeshore's not frozen over.
It did snow on Halloween last year while raining on Christmas. So global warming. We're a fucked up place too.
We like to keep it spicy. Yeah.
True. Yeah. Yes. Correct. I mean, Malort.
But we won't be underwater in a few years, so that's something.
Enjoy Glendale, buddy.
I won't make it that far, so it'll be fine.
Yeah. We're not gonna fall off and sink into the sea.
I'm okay with that.
We'll be chilling. Yeah, even in Civil War, like Washington, Texas, and California are fighting. The Midwest is like just waiting around and see how it goes. Remember how the movie said it? So, yeah, we're just chilling. Like
we've got casseroles to make.
True.
Yeah, Yankees and Texans can go fight that. Yeah.
Well. You can find me on the internet. I'm at bsilverio20 on Instagram, X, Letterboxd, Blue Sky, etc., etc.
You can find me, Don Shanahan. Casablanca Don is probably the moniker that shows up in the socials. My website for my film work is Every Movie Has a Lesson. I'm the editor-in-chief of Film Obsessive, and I'm the co-host of the Cinephile His If It podcast.
I am Ansel Burch. I am the Indecisionist, and you can find me at the Indecisionist on all the socials that I can be bothered to be on. This has been an Indecisionist production. Special thanks to April Moralba for our podcast art, and to Marlon Longett of Marlon and the Shakes for our amazing theme song.
Yes. And you can use the hashtag time2party. That's time, the number 2 party, if you want to join in the conversation on those platforms that happen to still use hashtags.
Mm-hmm. You can also use time, the number 2 party, all spelled out, thanks to Warwick.
Fun fact, I get to see Warwick in a week.
All right.
San Diego Comic-Con.
Sweet.
Yes. So while present Ben gets to be excited about San Diego Comic-Con, and while future Ben wishes that he was back recording with these fine gentlemen here, we would like to remind you all to be excellent to each other.
And party on, dudes.